Hey there, programmers. Welcome to week 2 of voluntary optional continuous learning. Um, so I'm going to go through these 3 things here in this video just to give you some more experience with some basic Python programming. If you haven't seen my first video already and all the code HS stuff that went with it, do check those announcements. It goes through how to print things and how to get input from the user. So, in this program, we're going to be doing a little bit of math. So math, of course, we are going to need to use numerical values. So we'll be using variables that store numbers instead of text. So we could do something as simple as this: x equals 5. That assigns 5 to be stored in a variable called x. So I can do something like this. I can just print x, and that will show what the value of x is, which is 5. I can do math with that expression. I can go, let's print x plus 10. And while we're at it, let's print x divided by 2. And let's print x star star 3. Maybe let's not jump to that one right away. Let's go print x times 6 before we get to that last one. So you can see some of the major operations here. Adding produces 15, dividing produces 2.5, multiplying produces 30, and what does this do? 5 star star 3, and we get an answer of 125. Well, it turns out that is how you can get exponent. So that's 5 to the 3rd power. And what I'm about to do right here is I'm about to make a comment in Python. A comment is just a note in your code, just like we did in Scratch. So I'm going to make a comment here, use the hashtag for comments, and what that does is it tells Python to ignore the rest of the text on this line, because it's not code, it's just comments. So I'm going to do hashtag and then 5 to the power of 3. Okay. All right, so some basic math operators there. You can do as many operators as you want in an expression. There's no limit there to what you can do. So I can go y equals, I'm going to assign this to a new variable. I can go 2x plus, let's go x to 2nd power minus 8, and then let's divide that all by 10, whatever. And of course, we won't see anything. I was about to hit play right there, but I won't see anything unless I actually print the value of y. So we should do that. And that expression got us 2.7. Python does order of operations correctly. So it would do what's in parentheses first. And in those parentheses, it would do the exponent first. So that if I had like a multiplication right there, it would still do x squared first, and then multiply by 3, and then multiply the 2 and the 5, and so on and so on. All right, let's keep it moving. There are a couple of libraries that we're going to import in this program. Some words we haven't used before. To import a library, type in import and then the name of the library. A library is a set of functions that someone else wrote, and it allows us to use those functions. It's kind of like, oh no, it's exactly like in Scratch when we would add the pin or we would add the music commands, right? They weren't built in to regular Scratch. We had to import those. So that's what I'm about to do here. I'm going to import math and import random. Those are 2 really important libraries that we will use quite a bit. So math has all the fancy math stuff that you would expect to find So like your sine and your cosine, there's a power function in there that you can use instead of doing the two asterisks. Um, Mostly what we're going to use math for is for the square root function. Of course, with square root, I guess you can always use to the power of 1/2. So you could go star star 0.5, and that would work for a square root. But another way to do the square root is math dot square root. So it's sqrt is the actual name of the function. You have to name, when you use functions, you have to actually know the names of the functions. And you can look up all these functions. You just Google Python math library, and you can find all the functions that exist. So now this function requires a parameter. For that word from scratch when we made our own blocks and we had to have parameters sometimes. So square root requires a parameter because it has to know what you want to find the square root of. You can't just call math.square root and expect it to give you an answer. So we'll go, well, let's go math.square root of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we'll print that result. Okay, that square root function is going to return a result. And that result will not get printed unless I print it directly or I save it as a variable and then print it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm saving the result of the function as a variable and then printing that result. So I expect to get some decimal here. Yeah. So apparently 35 times 35 is about 1,234. Okay. The random. So in Scratch we used a random number from like 1 to 10 quite a bit. We need to use that a lot in Python too. And in order to get random numbers in Python, you do this. So I'm going to make a variable called random. I can name that variable whatever I want. It doesn't matter what the name is. In order to get a random number, though, you do this. Random, which is the name of the library, right? This function I'm about to call is from the random library, just like square root is from the math library. The actual function name is called randint, and you can see it pop up there in Replit because Replit knows all the functions that are available. So we can do an autocomplete there, randint, and guess how many parameters randint requires when we want to do a random number. It's that same range thing where we go, oh, I want it between this and this. So if I go random number from 1 to, let's say 1,000, and then I print that random number, or let's go ahead and do some additional output here. Let's go text the random number was, close quotes to complete our text, comma, to separate our text parameter and our variable parameter and num, like that. Okay, so now that's going to print out all in one line for me. The comma is there to separate the two parameters, just like I separated the two parameters 1 and 1,000. I also separated the parameters text and not text. And there we go. It picked a random number 845. Okay. All right. So in your next Python challenge, you're going to be calculating the distance between 2 points and the midpoint between 2 points. And so you're going to have to ask the user to enter those points. So just want to remind you how to ask the user for values and pay special attention to the fact that we're going to be asking the user for numbers this time. And asking the user for numbers is actually, we need to do something different than when we ask the user for text, because text and numbers are treated very differently in Python. I'll give you an example. Let's use another math function. I'll go, let's make a variable called round down. And I'm going to go math.floor of 17.9999. All right, I'm going to run that. I'm going to print the result. Okay, remember what to expect from this when we call math.floor on 17999. We get 17 because floor is that function that rounds things down. Now, what if I replaced 17.999 with pencil. I want to find the floor of pencil. Ruh-roh. We get errors. Now, I haven't talked about errors much, and I'm sure you're going to be getting them quite a bit. When you get errors, don't freak out. It's going to happen all the time. All the time we're going to get errors. And the key is we just need to find the line of code that the error occurs on, and we need to be able to read the error message. Okay, so maybe I'll finish up this video with a couple of error examples for you. Okay, so right now that's an error because we have the wrong type. It must be a real number, not a string. String is the Python encoding word for text. Okay, so we need to undo and put back in our number. Anyway, let's get down to asking the user to enter a number, and we'll do some math with that number. So remember the function for inputting, it is input, okay? So I'm going to make a variable called num, and I'm going to say input, and I'll ask the user to enter a number, and I will do some math with it, okay? Then let's say I just want to go 5 times num. We're going to get another error here just as soon as I enter a number. 7, and oh shoot, 5 times 7 is 7, 7. It's literally 7 fives. Okay, so that's a weird example. Because that's a thing in Python where if you multiply text times a number, it'll repeat that text 5 times. Let's do 5 plus num and see what happens there. So again, I'll enter 7. Okay, and here's where we get the error. Unsupported operand type. An operand is plus, minus, operators. Sorry, the plus is the operator. The operand is the two things we're trying to add. So we can't add integers. 5 is the integer with strings. Num is the string here. It thinks that I'm trying to add text with a string. And that's not allowed. So we need to actually convert our text to an integer. And to do that, you surround this input function with another function called int. And I know this is a lot going on here, but you need to understand that when you call the input function, it always returns data in a text format. Even if you enter the number 7, it doesn't know that 7 is a number because it's just asking you to type stuff. So if we're asking for a number in our code, we need to actually convert that number from text to numerical data using the int function. So this is going to make sure that we're only entering an integer though, as opposed to like a decimal number, which that's fine for now. So we're going to try this one more time. I'm going to type in 7, and then it adds 5, and we get 12. Okay, I'm about out of time. The maximum length for my videos here is 15 minutes, but I'll show you one, maybe an error or two here. Here's a really common error. Did you see what I just did? I just deleted the second parenthesis on line 28. When I do that and try to run it, it's going to yell at me. Invalid syntax. That means I have broken the rules. And here's the really kind of poopy thing though. It says the invalid syntax is on line 30. It is not. As I already noted, I deleted the parenthesis on line 28, and that's where the issue is. It's just that Python doesn't catch that error until the next line of code. Okay? So sometimes Python lies to you about where your errors are. So if you're getting really frustrated and you can't figure out, oh, you're looking at line 30 like, it looks fine to me. Just be aware that the error really might be on the previous line. So we're going to put that parenthesis back in. Always have to have matching parentheses. All right, I'll see you next time.